said it so many times today, but he's your favourite fighter's favourite fighter. One of my favourite fighters to watch him. I hope when I beat him he doesn't retire. I hope he has some more fights. I hope he doesn't retire once I beat him, but that's what's going to happen. I'm going to beat him just like I beat Michael Chandler. Beat him for the punch on the feet, ruin his legs with kicks. I'm going to damage his calf, and if it does go to the ground, it'll be over even faster.
Alright, look, Dustin Poirier just threw out a prediction that's going to catch fight fans completely off guard. With UFC 34 closing in fast, this is the kind of statement that makes you wonder if you heard it right, because it goes completely against the grain of what everyone's expecting.
You're one of the few that I've heard say that. Can you tell us why?
I just think he's been in those 25-minute fights. He's been in dog fights before.
So here's the deal. This seasoned veteran who's witnessed countless wars has zeroed in on something specific about Justin Gaethje, that unmatched championship round experience from all those brutal 5-round battles. He's convinced this could be the deciding factor that determines everything when these two step into the octagon. Listen, Gaethje has been through absolute hell in that cage and developed this raw instinct that you just can't replicate in any gym, no matter how elite your training is. We're talking about that deep understanding of how to not just survive but actually dominate when championship rounds hit and your body is screaming for mercy. Poirier straight up questioned whether Paddy Pimblett can handle Gaethje's striking exchanges, and that's just the beginning. He also doubts the British fighter can score takedowns against someone with Gaethje's wrestling foundation. This leaves Pimblett in a dangerous spot where trading shots with Gaethje becomes basically inevitable. The real problem for Pimblett, according to Poirier, comes down to maintaining focus and discipline for the entire grueling 25 minutes. It's about staying composed, picking your moments carefully, and avoiding those drawn-out exchanges that play right into Gaethje's wheelhouse. That kind of championship composure under extreme pressure typically only develops after years of title fight experience. Don't forget, Gaethje hits harder and has this unbreakable willingness to walk through damage just to land his own fight-ending shots. Dealing with that relentless pressure for 5 straight rounds presents an almost impossible challenge for anyone, especially someone fighting for their first championship.
And I don't think Paddy's going to be able to get him down, so he's going to have to fight with him. Unless Paddy can stay super disciplined for 25 minutes, stay at distance, pick his shots. Justin's just a bigger puncher, and he'll put himself in harm's way to land one of those shots. And it's tough to stay away from it for 25 minutes.
Do you think that the UFC wants Paddy to win?
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably, because Justin's talking about retirement, and Paddy's still young, and they can continue to build him. There's a bunch of fights we haven't seen with Paddy. So it's more marketable if Paddy wins.
And so how do you see it playing out?
I think Justin stops him.
Wait though, because things get interesting when Alexander Volkanovski, the former featherweight champion, sees this completely differently. As we get closer to UFC 34 on January 2nd, the ex-champ isn't just picking sides, he's actually predicting Paddy Pimblett will come out on top and claim that interim belt. His reasoning makes a lot of sense too. It all comes back to what Volkanovski has consistently observed from Pimblett when facing major challenges throughout his UFC run. Time after time, when doubters were circling and questioning the Liverpool fighter before these big moments, Pimblett responded by executing his game plan flawlessly and shutting everyone up in the process. Volkanovski specifically pointed to Pimblett's performance against Michael Chandler as perfect evidence of his ability to stick to strategy even under the most intense pressure imaginable. That proven skill set, Volkanovski argues, will be absolutely essential when facing someone as dangerous and unpredictable in their approach as Gaethje.
Yeah, fun fight. I'm going to go with Paddy, you know what I mean? There's been a couple of times where I thought Paddy's had big tests in front of him and he's passed it. And, you know, he showed me in his last fight he can really stick to a game plan. And he's going to need that with a Gaethje. So I'm going to go with Paddy.
Now let's dive into what Colby Covington had to say. And you know he never sugarcoats anything. Talking to Submission Radio, Covington expressed serious frustration that the betting lines are backing Paddy Pimblett so heavily right now. It seemed to really get under his skin, and Covington even said he'd put serious money on Justin Gaethje if fighters were actually allowed to bet on these fights. That tells you everything about his confidence level. While the public is clearly favoring the British fighter, Covington sees Gaethje as this incredibly tough and determined opponent who's going to test Pimblett beyond anything he's faced before. Covington thinks the challenge Pimblett faces that night won't just be another fight, it's going to be the real test that shows whether he truly belongs with the elite in this division, or if his quick rise was partly built on hype and marketing appeal like Covington bluntly suggested.
You know, if he gets it done, it's because Justin's just so shot. He's been in so many wars, you know, he's been around the company so long, and that knockout to Max Holloway, he just hasn't recovered from. So if he gets to win that, then yeah, there, but this is like, seems like a smash spot. Like, if I was able to bet fighting, which we're not allowed to because the feds got involved because that moron coach James Krause screwed it up for all of us, but this seems like a smash spot on Gagey because everybody's on, and all the public is driving the money line for Paddy Pimblett to be the favorite. But you know, I think Justin's still a tough dog, and he's going to come out there and give his all, and he doesn't want to lose this fight. This could be his last fight if he loses. So, you know, I think he's going to put Paddy to the test, and, you know, Paddy, you know, usually has to control the wrestling aspect, put guys to the ground to get his submission and to get his striking game working. So, you know, I don't know. Justin's shot on one hand, they're trying to give him an easy win on a silver platter to Paddy to build him up. You know, he's got a little bowl cut and a little mouth, and they think he's the next star. So, I don't know. It's a tough fight to judge. You know, how much is left in the tank for Justin versus a guy that's absolute nobody that hasn't actually accomplished anything in the sport yet. We shall see.
Speaking of similar perspectives, Dan Hooker jumped into this conversation strongly disagreeing with Paddy Pimblett being the betting favorite. Hooker, who's always been a sharp analyst, specifically highlighted Justin Gaethje's incredibly solid takedown defense as a major obstacle for Pimblett's grappling-focused strategy. He was direct about it, saying flat out that he doesn't think Paddy should be favored, and that Gaethje's takedown defense is too sharp for him to expect any successful wrestling from Pimblett. Hooker then went further, explaining that honestly, Paddy hasn't really gone in there and faced elite fighters during their prime years. This becomes a crucial point for many veteran observers. Moving forward, Bilal Muhammad, another intelligent voice in the sport, broke down this matchup on his YouTube channel and ended up picking Gaethje as well. The former welterweight title challenger identified a specific weakness in Pimblett's fighting style, his tendency to absorb big shots during striking exchanges. This defensive flaw, Muhammad argued, becomes much more dangerous, almost reckless, when you're facing someone with Justin Gaethje's knockout power and aggressive fighting approach. Muhammad believes those defensive lapses will eventually catch up with him in this matchup, leading him to pick Gaethje to get his hand raised.
Pretty boxing. Don't get pulled into chaos. Don't get pulled into a grappling or wrestling or showing that you could do what he can do better, right? I think on the feet, Justin, you have a really big advantage. And if you're patient, you're smart, you systematically break him down, kind of like how you did against Tony Ferguson, it'll be an easy night for you. For Paddy, I think you got to create chaos. You got to wrestle as much as possible. Yeah, he has college wrestling accolades. This isn't college wrestling. This is UFC. This is fighting. This is punches. This is grappling. This is everything involved. So if I'm Paddy, I'm going to shoot in early and test it early. Because when you guys are both dry, that's where it comes. We've seen guys like Habib catch a low kick and shoot off it, or as he's pulling that kick back, shoot off it, pushing him to the fence. We've seen him get pressured. We don't want to get hit by him. Everybody who gets hit by him says how hard he hits. He's one of the hardest hitters in the division. So let's not test your chin. Let's not say Scousers don't get knocked out, right? We don't need to do that. I think your path to victory is clear. It's on the ground. I think you will have a big advantage if it gets into those hard grappling exchanges. And especially if you get multiple takedowns on him. You were able to control Michael Chandler, who's another college wrestler, on the ground pretty easily, mounted him. And you say you want to do the same thing with Justin? Let's put that plan to action. My pick, I think I'm going to go with Justin. I think Paddy just gets hit a lot on the feet. Yeah, he's pretty much clean his last two victories, but Jared Gordon had some clean shots on him, big hooks, big crosses. And Justin kind of like boxes kind of like Jared. Clean, he likes dirty boxing, he likes inside boxing. Justin's very good there, so I think I'm going to pick Justin in this one. I don't know if he knocks him out or finishes him. I do think it kind of would be a decision. I'm going on the Tony Ferguson type fight because Paddy's tough. He's not hard to break. I mean, it's not easy to break.
Here's where Michael Chandler provides a really valuable perspective given his unique position of having fought both of these guys directly. After losing to Paddy Pimblett back in April, he gained first-hand knowledge of Pimblett's skills, which he thinks are often underestimated by fans and casual observers. He openly admits that the Liverpool fighter has way more talent and a deeper skill set than most people realize. But when forced to make an actual prediction for this fight, Chandler still goes with Justin Gaethje. His logic revolves around Gaethje's vast experience and his incredibly complete, well-rounded game that's proven at the highest level. The former Bellator champion sees Gaethje as representing a completely different level of competition, something Pimblett simply hasn't encountered during his professional mixed martial arts journey. Chandler even suggested that Gaethje might eventually unify the belt afterward, hinting at his potential for bigger things. He also praised Ilia Topuria as potentially the best fighter in MMA today. The lightweight division has become this incredibly complex landscape filled with talent talented contenders, all making legitimate cases for championship opportunities.
Man, more skilled, more experienced, I think better fighter all around, Justin Gaethje. But I also have been on record and said that Paddy Pimblett is better than a lot of people think he is. You know, because of his haircut and the way he talks. And when I fought him, he's better than a lot of people give him credit for. He's got long reach, good kicks, pretty darn patient and composed in there. But Gaethje's a whole different animal. So if I had to bet, I'd go Justin Gaethje, interim champion, and then he beats Ilia Topuria later on this year.
But Sean O'Malley stood out by strongly supporting Paddy Pimblett for the interim title victory. The charismatic bantamweight champion views this as a perfect stylistic matchup for the British grappler to succeed and make his mark. O'Malley didn't stop at just picking a winner though. He made a specific prediction that Pimblett will create an opportunity during the second round and capitalize by securing a rear naked choke submission. This shows O'Malley's complete confidence in Pimblett's ground skills and his ability to recognize when opponents become vulnerable during the heat of battle. O'Malley firmly believes those submission abilities and that timing for seizing moments on the ground will make all the difference when everything is on the line in this high-stakes championship fight.
I don't know, dude. I'm kind of leaning towards Paddy. But the way he does get hit with left hooks, he looks so good against Michael Chandler. Paddy's got a lot of ways to win.
He's a scouser.
He's a scouser. Scousers don't get knocked out, you mushroom.
He KO'd Dustin with a head kick too. The fight before the Max Holloway one, which is pretty impressive.
True. So who got, man?
Probably Paddy rear naked.
I think. Oh, Paddy RNC.
Remember though, Matt Brown offered thoughts that went way beyond simple fight predictions, diving into a much deeper critique of current UFC matchmaking philosophy. The veteran, known for speaking his mind, expressed real frustration about what this specific matchup represents for how title shots are actually distributed within the organization these days. Brown views Paddy Pimblett's rapid, almost overnight rise to an interim title opportunity as disconnected from actual competitive merit. Instead, he argues it seems more connected to Pimblett's huge social media presence and his marketing value, which drives pay-per-view numbers. He contrasted this sharply with Arman Tsarukyan, a fighter who Brown believes systematically checked every competitive box, consistently beating elite opponents and proving himself against the division's most dangerous established names. Despite that incredible resume, Tsarukyan somehow got passed over for title consideration while Pimblett received this golden opportunity. Brown's criticism reflects broader concerns about how championships are decided nowadays, where popularity sometimes seems to matter more than proven accomplishments inside the cage.
Basically saying Paddy's more popular, you're getting it over Arman.
Yeah, it's kind of sad, right? And that's, I mean, God, I hate like how I kind of get into this too much, but I mean, that's really like, that's the definition of, you know, a monopoly, where a single promoter owns the title and the rankings. And it's not a good thing for the sport, in my opinion. And I have to question what it's going to do for the longevity of the sport. You know, I don't think in the short term it's really going to make a big difference, right? Like, you know, it's going to sell the next fight, right? It's going to sell the next pay-per-view. But trends tend to come and go, right? Fads tend to come and go. At some point, like, you know, to have staying power and lasting power, I think it requires, you know, a meritocracy-based system. It's going to require, you know, some, you know, if you want to bring in guys like Arman Tsarukyan or Movsar Evloev, and I always mess up how I say his name, you want to bring in these Olympic wrestling level guys. I mean, they don't want to have to go out there and put on some ridiculous show to become a champion. They don't want to have to go on Instagram and start a podcast and make you know, whatever kind of skits on social media and this silly kind of stuff. Like, they just want to be a world champion because they want to be the best athlete. And that's what makes me wonder how the staying power is going to be, right? When you're dealing with guys that are, you know, legitimate athletes that want to be legitimate athletes, and they're getting passed up by guys that are entertainers.
Moving on, you were Jeff Faber. A true legend backed his choice firmly supporting Justin Gaethje. The former WEC champion sees Gaethje as someone who absolutely thrives when fights turn into chaotic scrambles, showing complete willingness to trade shots and absorb damage just to land his own devastating strikes. While Faber acknowledges the real threat from Paddy Pimblett's submission game, he strongly believes Gaethje's extensive Division I wrestling background provides the necessary tools for surviving those ground exchanges. This fundamental base Faber argues should allow Gaethje to consistently steer fights back to the striking realm, where he holds clear advantages and feels most comfortable unleashing his power.
Pimblett and Justin Gaethje, who do you favor in that fight?
I gotta go with Gaethje. I feel like he's the one that loves to get down and throw fist for fist, and he's also got the Division I wrestling to negate some of the biggest skill sets of Paddy. Paddy's a very dominant grappler when it comes to submissions. I think Gaethje has the tools to keep it.
Tony Ferguson brings a fascinating perspective, having competed against both fighters during his long UFC career. Ferguson suggested that motivation could be the deciding factor in this fight, something not captured by statistics and skill comparisons alone. Ferguson thinks Justin Gaethje's complicated history with those interim belts and unfulfilled title dreams might create mental pressure that affects his performance when it matters most. On the flip side, Ferguson believes Paddy Pimblett's hunger for his first major championship could generate this incredible energy that pushes fighters beyond their normal limits into new territory. Ferguson sees both guys as beatable based on his own experiences with them, but he's leaning slightly toward the newcomer Paddy Pimblett, who's chasing glory with everything to gain, giving him that mental edge.
Bad, dude. Paddy's not bad. He's very beatable, and Gaethje's very beatable as well. But when it goes into the passion and how upsetting Justin Gaethje has always been about not getting that real title shot, and they just keep dangling it right there again. Paddy's in for a new treat, right? Paddy's the one that's never fought for a belt. He's going in there. He's going to be trying to, get that stuff. He's going to feel a little bit more fresher. He's going to have that little bit of excitedness in my opinion.
For a really bold prediction, Renato Machado stepped forward confidently calling for Paddy Pimblett to win by submission. His reasoning is pretty compelling, suggesting that unless Justin Gaethje can secure an early knockout, the fight will inevitably move to grappling territory. In that grappling realm, Machado believes Pimblett has clear advantages that can't be ignored. Machado argues quite directly that the betting markets haven't properly calculated the significant gap in submission skills between these two elite fighters. He thinks the current odds should reflect a much closer fight considering the grappling threat than what sportsbooks are offering. This points to what Machado sees as a major oversight in how people analyze this bout, often getting caught up in exciting striking battles while underestimating the crucial grappling aspects of mixed martial arts.
Tough matchup, I think 5 rounds. If this is the common take, everybody gonna say that, not only me, but if Justin Gaethje doesn't stop him on the beginning, he's going to lose. I think everybody thinks like that. And I think Paddy Pimblett will beat Justin Gaethje. That's what I think.
Eddie Alvarez, another sport legend, provided analysis from an incredibly informed position shaped by his direct experience with Justin Gaethje's approach. After handing Gaethje his first UFC loss, Alvarez focused on preparation quality as potentially the most important element in these championship-level fights, rather than raw skill or technique. The former lightweight champion explained that Gaethje brings this very specific, almost overwhelming type of pressure that sparring partners simply cannot replicate during training camps, no matter how talented they are. Alvarez vividly recalls the constant physical punishment, the relentless aggression, and the complete lack of breathing room that defined their encounter. He emphasized that no training regimen, no matter how intense, can fully prepare someone for that reality until they experience it firsthand under championship lights with everything at stake. Ultimately, Alvarez believes whichever fighter adapts faster once that opening bell rings and the real battle begins will take the victory regardless of all the preparation work beforehand.
That I'm glad it's over and I never want to do it again. I'm like, the fans don't ever ask for a rematch or anything like that, because that would have never. I'm like, I'm glad. He's unique, man, and he's one of my favorite guys to watch. So but if you want to beat Justin Gaethje, you have to. So he's a forward fighter and a pressure fighter that he will stand in the pocket. And he's gonna throw everything he got in that pocket. If you don't meet him, you'll get chewed up. So Paddy, the way to beat a guy who like does this, very violent, aggressive pressure fighter, you have to meet him. You have to throw when he throws. So you got to be brave, and you have to go when he goes in between his shots. If you do that, you got a fair shot. If you don't do that, if you're not brave and courageous and throw when he throws in between his shots, it's going to be a really long night. It's going to be a hard night for you.
Another respected voice in the MMA world threw support behind Paddy Pimblett, highlighting what they consider the British fighter's incredibly well-developed all-around game. This former middleweight champion also mentioned that famous Liverpool durability, which has become almost synonymous with Pimblett's growing reputation in the sport, despite fully acknowledging Gaethje's status as one of the most dangerous knockout artists in the division. This analyst thinks Pimblett will find his path to victory through seamless transitions between grappling and striking phases when needed. This adaptability, the ability to change approaches and control the fight's pace, represents a weapon that could prove crucial for Pimblett when he needs to either escape danger or impose his will. His capacity to threaten in multiple areas of mixed martial arts forces opponents into difficult defensive decisions, constantly keeping them guessing and unbalanced.
And we know an interim champion basically means the #1 contender. But if Paddy can pull it off, unbelievable. That'll be 4 champs, 2 interims and 2 legit, well 3 legit now with Tom being promoted from the UK that have become champions. And for Justin Gaethje, this is the final go. This is the final crack of the whip. The man's had 2 title fights in the past, Charles Oliveira to Khabib Nurmagomedov, and now he gets to go up against Paddy Pimblett. Now talking about the matchup, of course it is an easier fight for Justin than what it is against Khabib Nurmagomedov, one of the greatest of all time. Islam Makhachev, the current pound for pound, and according to many people, a man that is surpassing Khabib Nurmagomedov, right? So in that regard, it is an easier matchup. Will Paddy be able to take him down? Will he dance around the octagon? Yes, he will. Will he try and replicate the game plan of Max Holloway? Of course he will. Who wouldn't try and do that? You aren't going to stand and go toe-to-toe with Justin Gaethje because the man does have knockout power. But underestimate Paddy at your peril.
With UFC 34 approaching fast, featuring this massive interim lightweight championship as the main event, the entire mixed martial arts community stays completely split on the likely outcome. This Saturday night showdown, set to unfold inside T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, will finally provide definitive answers to the questions that have sparked endless discussions, debates, and predictions across social platforms and fight communities everywhere. Can Justin Gaethje's legendary striking power and experience ultimately overcome Paddy Pimblett's perfect UFC record and rising momentum? Or will the British fighter's superior grappling skills and adaptability prove too much for the veteran to handle when it counts most? That question remains wide open. One guarantee is that both fighters arrive carrying different types of enormous pressure and personal motivation that could tip the scales and decide who leaves with championship gold when absolutely everything hangs in the balance.